This tutorial explores resolution, image size, canvas size, file formats, and color modes in Photoshop. Inside the Canvas Lab 08 Photoshop Resampling, you'll see a file to download. Click to download that file, and then you can expand the contents of that zipped file. Open up Photoshop and then go to File, Open. Navigate into your Downloads folder and select the file ps-resample1.jpg and click Open. The first downloaded image was taken on a cell phone and needs to be resampled to a thumbnail size for printing. Let's go up to File, Save As, navigate into your Adobe Design Suite folder. We'll make a new folder titled Lab 08-PS-Resample. Open up that folder and I'll change the type of file format to a TIFF. A TIFF is a flexible raster or bitmap image format that's supported by virtually all Paint, image editing, and page layout applications. TIFFs preserve layers and all Photoshop editing capabilities. TIFFs are a non-compression format and have larger file sizes. We'll go to the file name. I'll put my cursor at the beginning of that file name. I'd like you to put your last name -ps-resample1.tiff. Click Save and then OK. First, we'll change the color mode of this document. I can see in the tab up here it's in an RGB color mode, and that's what cameras shoot in. RGB stands for red, green, blue. The color mode will determine how the colors will combine based on the number of channels in the color model. Different color modes result in different levels of color detail and file size. A CMYK color mode is used for images that will be used for full color printing. Let's go up to the Image menu, Mode, and we'll change this color profile to a CMYK color. It asks if you would like to convert this profile. Click OK. And now I can see in the tab it says CMYK. And now the color channels that build up this image are cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, CMYK. Next, let's talk about pixels and image size and resolution. If I start to zoom in on the image, and I zoom in as far as it can take me, you can start to see the individual pixels that build up this image. Each one is filled with its own color, and looking at it this extremely close, it doesn't really look very good. I can't really make out the image. But as I zoom out, those pixels start to blend together to form the mosaic of your image. Pixel dimensions are measured by the total number of pixels along an image's width and height. And then the resolution is the fineness of the detail in a bitmap image, and it's measured in pixels per inch, or PPI. The more pixels per inch, the greater the resolution. Generally, an image with a higher resolution produces a better printed image quality. 300 PPI is the industry standard high quality resolution for printing. 72 PPI is the standard resolution for web usage. If you'd like to change the image size or resolution, you go up to your image menu, down to image size. And this allows us to change the total number of pixels to adjust proportionately to change that image size or resolution. I'll start with making sure that I have the Resample box checked, and then I'll change the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. And basically what I just did was I added a whole lot of pixels to the same area. So my image size right now is very large, but I'll go up to the width box and type in 2.25. I have my link checked, so it proportionately changed the height to 3 inches high. If you're not getting the same numbers, check to make sure that your unit of measurement is set to inches. And now my image size went from 34.9 megabytes down to 1.74 megabytes. I'll click OK. Zoomed in at 100%, I still have a good quality, and it's the correct file size for what I need it for, and the file size overall has gone down significantly. Let's save this tab and close it, and we'll work on the second downloaded image. This one was taken from a point-and-shoot camera and needs to be resampled for printing. You'll notice that this image is a lot smaller in width and height than the first image that was taken on a cell phone, but the resolution that this image was shot in was much higher. Let's start by saving this image as a Photoshop PDF document. Go up to File, Save As. Navigate back into folder Lab 08, Photoshop Resample. Change the type of format to a Photoshop PDF. A Photoshop PDF document can preserve Photoshop data such as layers, and you can also open that document later and edit the images in Photoshop. We can also open this PDF in Adobe Acrobat. To preserve that editing, I will uncheck the Save as a Copy box. Put your cursor into the beginning of that file name and type in your last name -ps -resample2.pdf. Click Save, and it tells you it's going to open up the Adobe PDF dialog box. I'll click OK. The main checkbox that I'm going to worry about here is the Preserve Photoshop editing capabilities. I'll click Save PDF, and it's telling you that it will be incompatible with earlier versions of Photoshop. I'll click Yes to continue. And I can see the tab at the top. It did change to the PDF format. So if your tab still says a .jpeg format, that means you probably left the Save as a Copy box checked. So you could reopen this file or try to resave it. Let's change the color profile from RGB to a CMYK by going up to the Image menu, Mode, CMYK Color. Are you sure you want to choose a different color profile? Okay. And you should see your tab change to CMYK. Save your document. And now we'll change the image size. Go to Image, Image Size. And the resolution on this one is 180. So like I said, it's a little bit higher than the cell phone that shot in a 72 ppi, but it was a very large width and height format. So this one, the width and height's a little bit smaller, but that resolution is larger. I'll go down to the resolution box first and change that to 300 pixels per inch. I am in inches, and I'll change the width of this document to 5 inches wide, which proportionately comes out to 3.75 inches high. Click OK. And you can zoom in to 100% and check your quality. Looks good. And we'll close this tab and save that PDF. Save PDF. Yes, I want to continue. For our third image, let's go up to File, Open. Navigate into your Downloads folder and locate ps-resample3.nef and click Open. This image was taken from a DSLR camera, which stands for Digital Single Lens Reflex, and it captured this file in a camera raw format. So when you open up a raw file, it automatically opens up a camera raw dialog box. This is asking me to set up camera raw. I'll just stick with the new ACR default. Camera raw files contain unprocessed, uncompressed picture data from a digital camera's image sensor, along with additional information about how the image was captured, the metadata. You can think of a camera raw file as your photo negative. You can reprocess the file at any time, achieving the results that you want by making adjustments for white balance, tonal range, contrast, color, saturation, and sharpening. When you adjust a camera raw image, the original camera raw data is preserved. When you shoot JPEG files with your camera, the camera automatically processes the JPEG file to enhance and compress the image. You generally have little control over how this processing occurs, but shooting in camera raw, images with your camera gives you greater control than shooting JPEG images, because Camera Raw does not lock you into processing done by your camera. And cameras that do shoot in a RAW format, they'll give you larger file sizes and higher resolution, but it's considered the purest form of a digital image that you can manipulate. Inside the Camera Raw dialog box, you can adjust the white balance, the temperature, tint, and you've got all these other lighting and color saturation options. So you can adjust the exposure, contrast, shadows, whites and blacks. You can adjust the vibrance of your colors, saturation, and it will still preserve the original RAW format. It won't allow it to be saved over. So once you've made your changes in Camera Raw, you can click the Open button at the bottom. The first thing we need to do is resave this image. Go up to File, Save As, navigate into your Adobe Design Suite folder, and then locate folder Lab 08 PS-Resample. And we'll save as type of format. We'll change to a JPEG. So this image will be downsampling it to use for the web. A JPEG is a good option because it is compatible to use on the web. It compresses the file, so it makes the file size a little bit smaller. And it also preserves the millions of colors that we have in this image. I'll go to the front of the file name, and I'd like you to type in your last name, -ps-resample3.jpg. Click Save, and then make sure your image quality options are set to 12 maximum, and click OK. Since this image will be used for the web, the RGB color profile would be the more beneficial color profile. And now we'll go up to the image size. Go to Image, Image Size. So this image is already quite large, and I can take a look at the resolution. This was shot at a 300 resolution at 15 inches wide by 10 inches high. So it's a pretty large image. We're going to be downsampling quite significantly for the web. The first thing we'll do is change our resolution down to 72 pixels per inch. And the measurement, we're going to be using this for the web, so I'll change the unit of measurement to pixels. For width, I'll type in 470 pixels wide, which proportionately comes out to 313 pixels high. So we went from a 40.5 megabyte file down to a 431 kilobyte file, and that's a pretty big difference. I'll click OK, and most likely your image will zoom way out, and that's because it just removed a lot of pixels and had to reconfigure the image. I can see right now I'm zoomed out at 25%. So if I tried to zoom in to 100%, my quality still looks good. And if I kept going any further, 200%, I start to see it looks choppy. And any further, you could really start to see that pixelization taking place there. But used for screen viewing at 100% would be just perfect, and the file size was brought down significantly, which would be more beneficial to using on the web. We can close this image and we'll save it, yes. Let's open up our next image by going to File, Open. Navigate into your download folder, into the PS-Resample Lab folder, and select the fourth image. Click Open. This image was also taken on a DSLR camera, but it was not shot in a camera raw format. We'll resave the document, File, Save As, navigate back into folder Lab 08, PS-Resample. Let's change the format of the file to a TIFF. Put your cursor at the beginning of the file name. Type in your last name. -ps-resample4.tiff. Click Save and then OK. Next, we'll change the color mode of this image to a grayscale. Go up to Image, Mode, Grayscale. And a grayscale mode will use different shades of gray throughout the pixels of your image. It asks, are you sure you want to discard that color information? Because once you do convert a file to grayscale, you can't necessarily bring those colors back. If it's still an active session, I can undo or go back in my history, and I could technically reconvert a grayscale image back to RGB or CMYK, but it wouldn't bring those original colors back. So before ever converting a file to grayscale, it's a good idea to make sure that you have already saved as a copy to a different location or a different name, so that you don't permanently overwrite the original file. I'll click the discard, and now I have a grayscale image, and I can see gray on the tab. Let's save the document, File, Save. And now we'll change the image size by going up to Image, Image Size. I'd like to keep the high quality on this image, so I'll keep the resolution set to 300. And once you take away the resolution or lower the quality of an image, that can also not be brought back. So again, if you're downsampling a file significantly, make sure that you have the original version safely saved somewhere. Okay, I see that it still has pixels set to the unit of measurement from the last document. I'll change that back to inches. And for width, let's make it 6 inches wide by 9 inches high. We'll click OK and save the document. Next, we'll change the canvas size of our document. We'll go up to Image, Canvas Size this time. This is where you can add to your canvas or take away from your canvas. If I were to add to my canvas, you could tell it what you want that canvas extension color to be. You can also remove areas from your canvas. You'll see this grid of 9 squares, and this is where you can set your anchor point and either add or subtract areas from your canvas based off of that particular anchor point. For this lesson, we'll keep it in the center, and I'll go up to the height box and change that to 6 inches high. So we'll be removing 3 inches from both the top and the bottom of our image. There's no resolution in your canvas size, so it's not adjusting any of the pixels, just the actual canvas size itself. Click OK, and it warns you that some clipping will occur. Proceed. And it should have cropped down the image, and it's a square image format now. And we can close this tab. Yes, we'd like to save. Now we're ready to open up our final image. Go up to the File menu, Open, navigate back into your Downloads folder, into the PS-Resample Lab folder, and select the 5th image. Click Open. What we'll do on this file is make a selection of the red flower, make a copy of that selection, and paste it into a new document with a transparent background. If you click W on your keyboard, that will take you to this set of selection tools. For this tutorial, we'll choose the Quick Selection tool. This will make a selection based off of similar colors and shapes, and it's a fairly easy way to make somewhat of a free-form selection. We can also adjust the size of our brush that we're using with the bracket keys on our keyboard. The bracket keys should be to the right of the P key on your keyboard, and the left bracket reduces the size of the brush and the right increases the size of the brush. So I'll keep my cursor and the brush inside of the red flower part. I'll click and hold my mouse key down, and you'll see that selection start to snap, and it intuitively understands the shapes and the colors that you're trying to select. I am kind of guiding it slowly. I don't want to go outside of the flower. It'll start to think that I want to make a selection out there. So I have the entire flower contents selected, and I'll go back to my Move tool, V on your keyboard, go to the Edit menu, and select Copy. And now we'll make a new document. Go to File, New. Using the tab at the top, locate Web. And my first preset is Web Most Common. That's 1366 pixels wide by 768 pixels high at a 72 pixel per inch resolution. We would like to start off this document with a transparent background. Locate where it says Background Contents and expand that menu. Sometimes you might need to even scroll down a little bit on your mouse to reveal the word transparent. Click Create. And my canvas has that gray and white grid. That's my transparency grid. There's nothing there. I'm still on my Move tool. I'll go up to the Edit menu and select Paste. And we can transform the image. It's quite big. I'll go up to the Edit menu down to Free Transform. I'll need to zoom out so that I can see the bounding box of my image. I'll go to a corner point and hold my Shift key down to keep it proportional. I can reposition, and you can position it anywhere you want, any size you want. I'll just keep mine centered in the canvas. I want to apply that transformation. I'll click the check mark at the top. And now I could use this image clipped out without the original background to it. So I could place it in other files. I could use it on the web. Another way that we can save and export to different formats is by going up to the File menu, Export, Save for Web Legacy. This allows us to save in multiple formats that would be used for the web. Gives us all the different options that would be applicable for web formats. And you can see you have the GIF, JPEG, PNG, and for this document we'll choose the PNG 24. PNGs do support transparency, so you'll notice when I went from a JPEG, it had a solid white background, to a PNG. Now I have the transparency. I could also get a transparency with a GIF file. I'll stay down at PNG 24. That'll keep all my colors. And you could also export as a different image size based on width or height, or by using percentage. Let's click Save. And we'll navigate back into folder lab number 8. I'll keep the .png file extension and just highlight Untitled 1. Replace it with your last name, -08 PS resample 5.png, and I'm in folder lab 08 PS resample. Click Save. And I can see that it didn't change my current tab. It just exported that additional file. If we open up our folders through our Finder, navigate into our folder Lab 08 PS Resample, you'll see the 5 documents that we created in this tutorial. The first one should be a TIFF, the second one is a PDF, the third one is a JPEG, the fourth is a TIFF, and the fifth is a PNG. I'll select all 5 of those files and zip compress them. On a PC, I'll go down to Send to Compressed Zipped folder. And it makes a new file. It should say your last name 08-ps-resample. And it has 5 in there. I'll just take that 5 out. And that will be the zipped file that you submit to Canvas. To recap, we talked about different resolutions and their relation to pixel dimensions and image size, how to crop or add to your canvas using the canvas size dialog box. We also talked about different file formats and their uses for web versus printing, and different color profiles, different color modes. We used the quick selection tool to copy and paste onto a transparent background. And then we gathered the files and zipped and compressed them for submission. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.